the years that you have with your kids under your roof are so short. They
Mm.
are so brief and they fly by. So don't ever forget. Don't procrastinate. Don't say you'll get to it later. Lean in to your family.
Mm.
You can do other stuff later. But man, kids grow up fast and you can't get it back. You can't get their childhood back.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Pathways to Family Wellness podcast. My name is Dr. Brendan Reardon, pediatric and family chiropractor. Joining me for the first time, we have Greg Denning. Greg, thanks so much for jumping in with us.
Oh man, I'm so excited. This is what we live for, brother.
That's right. This is what we live for. Yeah, you got an article that's going to be coming out in the summer edition, which I think is hot off the press here for Pathways to Family Wellness. And you talk a lot about some of your family life and things of that nature. I'm going to go ahead and read your bio, but then we'll jump into it because you've got a really interesting story, and I think our listeners would love to hear about that. So here we go. Greg Denning is known for his positive energy and his unique ability to inspire others. He left home at the age of 16 due to difficult family circumstances and spent some tough years hungry, lonely, and discouraged. Determined to discover the secrets of creating a happy life, and if it was even possible, he started a journey of personal growth and development that continues to this day and which led him to create the life of his dreams. He and Rachel have been blissfully married for 24 years, have 7 awesome children with whom they have traveled to 60 plus countries and have multiple six-figure location-dependent businesses. They live in Europe. Greg is a family, lifestyle, and business consultant for entrepreneurs and businessmen, as well as creator and coach of the Formidable Family Man Tribe, where he helps family men master their fitness, family, and financing. I feel like just with that introduction alone, we've got a lot of potentially talking points there.
Yeah.
That's amazing. But I'm wondering if we can get started in like what's you said you've got seven kids. What's a day in the life of for your family? Is there a typical day? You do a ton of traveling.
Yeah, man, we love to mix it up. Of course, we love variety, we love novelty, we love having big adventures. But okay, if we back up a little bit, this we kind of learned this the hard way. We started traveling when we had 4 little ones, like really little.
Okay.
And we started traveling it, but it was more like tourism, right? Where you're trying to visit everything, hit everything. And after a few weeks, we were so exhausted. And
Yeah.
we're like, what about our routines? What about the kids' study? What about our work schedule? Like, this is crazy. We're gonna wear ourselves out. And so then we figured out, like, wait a minute, we got to do this form of slow travel where life still works. So we started tweaking and adjusting and creating systems and strategies. So then we have our family stability no matter where we are in the world, bro. We're on a sailboat, we're living in an RV, we're out in the Sahara Desert, we're circling Iceland. It doesn't matter. We still get up and we do our morning routines, our morning rhythms, and our daily routines, evening rhythms. So you'll see us whether we're in a tent or it's some sweet hotel somewhere, it's all the same. We do our studies together. We spend time. We're engaging with each other. First thing in the morning, we're working out together. We're reading great books together. We really want to do life as the best version of ourselves, but do it together as a family.
That makes me really happy to hear you say that because we've traveled. We've got 3 kids myself, 11, 8, and 3, and we've traveled a lot. And travel for us tends to be fairly chaotic. And so,
Uh-huh. Yep.
and I'm sure you can relate to this where, everything seems like it's kind of rushed. We've noticed for our family, it takes us several days to really like sometimes settle into where we are.
Hmm.
The routines get thrown 3 sheets to the wind. And like, and I remember, so my family lives in San Diego. We're on the East Coast right now. So we do a lot of traveling back and forth from the West Coast to the East Coast. Um, and one of our recent trips, I remember even having the thought, I was like, travel destabilizes the family. And I was like, well,
Yes.
that is one. And then afterwards, I thought, well, that's one way to look at it. But I bet you can have a different perspective on that
Yep.
particular idea. So you're talking about your routines, slow travel. Tell me a little bit more about what that looks like, in terms of slow travel versus and having your routines and whatnot.
Yeah. Oh, I love the way you said that. It's like the destabilization. Because when you start going crazy, you're just like, like I need a vacation from my vacation. It's chaotic. It's crazy.
Yeah, and then we're like, we're just gonna swear off travel for a while. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
stay home. We're gonna figure
Yep.
out how to do things at home. And I was like, but my wife and I, we love to travel. We absolutely love it. And that's something that really fills us with a lot of joy. We love exploring new places, having new experiences, trying new foods, all the different things like that. So, yeah, talk
We
to me
just
a
we
bit
just
about,
had to get way more strategic.
okay.
So we're like, we love this. All the things you just mentioned. I'm like, we love this. But with all these kids, like in the chaos, like how do we figure this out? And it was tempting. It was tempting to throw in the towel. It's like maybe not. And man, you people came out of the woodwork, brother. Tell us like, oh, get your travel out because you can't travel once you have kids. And then
Yeah.
we'd tell them like, hey, we didn't start traveling until we had four kids.
Oh,
Like,
really?
yeah, my wife and I, we didn't travel before that. We'd never been. We grew up so poor, man. Like I
Wow.
think I went to Yellowstone once and like Galveston, Texas. Like that was it, is family travel. So we hadn't been anywhere, man.
Yeah.
And once our fourth was born, we're like, we got to do life differently. And so we went out, went through the craziness, the mayhem, the chaos. We thought, no, we still want all the benefits that come from this, the experiences, the memories. Like let's get really dialed in here and really proactive. And so the two of us, and my wife's a genius at this. It's like let's figure out systems, family systems, and
Hmm.
charts and routines and rhythms and rituals that just work no matter where we are in the world and no matter what's happening in the world. And those are things any family can use, even if they don't travel. They stay in the same house for 30 years, whatever. It's like these little systems, family systems and strategies, man, it just makes family life so much more enjoyable and more successful.
Yeah, that's great. And you mentioned routines and things of that nature, and I think that's where we notice we tend to go off the rails with a lot of the travel is like we're like, well, it's vacation
Mhm.
now, so anything goes, and then but
Yep.
anything goes usually means chaos creeps in, and
Yep.
and I think there's a place for a certain amount of that, right? When you like sometimes day-to-day life feels like you're holding things real tight, so you really need to let things go a little bit. But also, like to your point, I've observed that for me, for the rest of the family, if we have our dialed in morning routines, the rest of the day is so much smoother. Like, for me, if I can get a workout done first thing in the morning, some movement,
Mhm.
something like that, that's that the day is always way smoother versus trying to figure out how it's going to get squeezed in later in the day or anything like that. For me personally, movement first thing is very, very important. And
Yep.
that's something that we've tried to prioritize. Um,
Brother, I couldn't agree with that more. You couldn't get a bigger amen out of
yeah.
that. And here's the cool thing, because you figure that out as a man, right? You're like, hey, if I get up and I get after it and I start my day well, like my day tends to go well,
Yeah.
and I'm more dialed in. The key then is you're like, wait a minute, why don't we do this as a whole family?
Mm,
Why don't we get the kids up moving their bodies? Well, what is it that inspires me? Reading from a great book. Wait, why don't we get up and read to our kids and have them read?
yeah.
Eat some good food, get out and get some sunshine, do some stretching. And if we do it as a family now, it's more bonding time and you're setting your kids up for success because they just wake up and think, oh, well, this is what you do in life. You get up and you have a good morning routine.
Yeah.
And then, man, you set them on this course and they just take off.
Yeah, it does feel like the rest of the day is so much smoother. Like one of the best family trips we had is when we went down to the west coast of Florida. My wife was third trimester pregnant with our third, and we were waking up. We were very fortunate to be able to be in a hotel that was right on the beach, and it was a beautiful beach, like Fort Myers beach area. And so each morning we woke up and at like 7 a.m. we were just walking the beach, and
Yeah.
that was how the day started. My wife and I had our cups of coffee while we're walking, and it wasn't anything hardcore or aggressive, but it was still just like being outside in fresh air, moving, and then getting back, and then
Mm.
and starting the day that way. And it was unstructured in terms of the walk, right? The walk itself wasn't like we must go to this pier and back or anything. We were just walking to be outside and move. But
Yep.
that certainly, to contrast that versus starting your day with lack of movement and a screen or a show is like a usually a
Exactly.
usually a pretty different outcome in terms of what
Right.
that looks like.
So true.
Over the years, you've got seven right now. What's
Mhm.
the age split between everyone at this point?
The oldest is about to turn 23 and the
Wow.
youngest is 8.
8. Okay. So you're able to see the adult that comes out of the
Yeah.
years of this
Yeah.
system. Yeah.
Well, 4 now. Our first, so we adopted our first and then had three
Okay.
kids really close. So
Wow.
our four oldest now are technically adults and they're kind of doing their thing and it's
Okay.
awesome to see the results of the home education and world schooling, the life experiences, and
Yeah.
to see them now just taking off and thriving. It's awesome.
That's really cool. Now you said you didn't start traveling until your fourth one was here. So this is like so
Mhm.
and now the oldest is 23. So you've been at this for a decent amount of time with traveling at this
Yeah.
point, right? Yeah.
18 years. Yeah. So our fourth, when she was born, she's 18 now. When she was born, we left when she was 3 months old.
Three
We hit the
months
road.
old. Where
It
did
was
you go
wild,
to?
man.
Yeah.
We drove to Costa Rica.
You drove to Costa Rica.
Yeah.
Wow. From
It
where?
was insane,
That's
brother.
amazing.
We were living in the Rocky Mountains
Okay.
at the
Okay.
time, and we're like, you know what? Let's just load up and go. Let's see what's there. Like we didn't even know if the highway, the roads, like how to get there. They have
Yeah.
diapers and like what are we in? It was wild, man,
Yeah.
and so memorable, so special.
That's amazing. And in terms of logistics for this, like did you each have, regular quote type jobs in the meantime as this is getting launched, and you're like trying to figure out how am I gonna be able to swing this with like leaving home and like still, not having to, like scrape it as we're getting by, or was it pretty rough on the front end there of like,
Oh,
we're
bro,
gonna
it
we're
was
super
very
scrappy, gonna
rough.
make it work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was all scrappy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, well, if I back up, tell a little bit of my story. So, my parents divorced when I was really young. Stepdads came and went, a lot of stepdads.
Okay.
And so it was just kind of broken environment. And finally at 16, I'm like, I'm out of here, man. Like, this is frustrating. I'm gonna see if I can figure this out. That was brutal. Like, it was so hard. And so I'm trying to figure out life as a 16-year-old, just trying to figure out where to live and how to earn enough money to eat and finish school and all that. It was so tough. And then, really leaned into family life. And when we got married, I thought, okay, like this is it. And then I get hired as a teacher, right? I was a
Mm.
teacher. And bro, I thought I had arrived. I'm like, I get a paycheck every other Friday. Like we're done. Like this is it. Right. And
Yes.
now you're looking back at the teacher's salary. I thought it was fantastic. And I'm like, I don't even know how we were. Well, I was milking cows at 3:30 in the morning was how we were paying the bills too
Yeah.
before I went to teach.
Yeah.
But so that's how we started our lives, right? We had those kids, and then we thought, you know what? No, we've got to do life differently. We'll figure it out. We'll find a way or we'll make a way.
Yeah.
And so when we started, we had some investments. We'd put some aside for in real estate and the stock market. And we started in '07, brother. And by the end of '08, we'd lost everything in the stock market and
Oh.
all of our real estate was upside down. So we
Oh.
just came crawling back and I got a job like waiting tables and doing construction, like whatever. But now we had tasted what we wanted, the international. Because again, I hope every family listening has their own unique dream, like whatever it is for them to have a farm or an apartment in the city or move around the world, whatever they want to do. For us, this is our unique family dream, like to
Mhm.
travel all over the world, to see the whole world and the people and religions and traditions and the coolest things men have made and the coolest creations God made. It's like let's see it all. And so we were committed to that. And but those first few years, bro, they were so hard. Oh, they were so hard. And online work was just barely starting to happen. So
Yes.
sometimes it would come with like, okay, it's working, and then it's like, oh, it's not working. I gotta go
Yeah.
get a job. And then it's working, and now it's not working. But we kept pushing and finally hit this moment. It's like, okay, we're gonna make this work. And from that point, then it's just been up ever since, and it's been
Okay.
amazing.
Okay. You finally got liftoff at a certain point, and then
Yeah.
it's like, yeah. Well,
But we
and
had to pay a price for it. And I think
yeah.
there's a life lesson there for all of us. Like when you're chasing your dreams, you will fall down.
Yeah.
Like 100%. You're going to smack into some walls. You're going to trip over yourself. You're going to make some mistakes. There's going to be some failures. I'm like, okay, get back up, dust yourself off, and like, I'm going to do it differently.
Yeah. Do it differently. That's
Yeah,
a good point as well. I think the learning that sometimes happens is people keep trying to do the exact same thing and they're getting the
exactly.
same result. They're banging their heads against
Exactly.
the wall. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. And I think, looking at if you look at the outcome of it, of like, oh wow, there's all these countries, this successful family life, you might think like, oh, they've just, it's been easy the whole way up. And it's good to hear like that they're like the rocky times I think are nice for people to hear as well because it's very
Hmm.
relatable. People are going through struggles. And then also to see some of the amazing experiences that come out of it as well. It's
Exactly. Right. And that's what makes the story.
yeah, that's
That's
what
the,
make that and that's what makes it a relatable story, right? That's
yeah.
that's exactly it. Yeah. Yeah. Um, so it sounds like at the start you were like, we want to travel. We want this to happen. There's a few crash and burn moments, probably banging your head against the wall,
Yeah.
a lot of times, I'm sure. And then, things start to take off and they're continuing in that way. Um, but you're continuing to have kids at that point as well, right? So
Yeah.
the energy is growing, the system is growing, everything's getting more full. How did you navigate the growing family system with still like holding on to your dreams? You mentioned dialed in routines, getting that figured out. Like how did all that come about?
Yeah, well, so anyone who has kids will know like it, it's chaotic, right?
Yes.
And you have the infants and then the toddlers and then you add more infants behind the toddlers and then it's like okay, now it's three different kinds of chaos here and they're growing and just when you think I think I got this, they get a little bit older and now they're different and now it's like oh man, it's another challenge and then you add
Yeah.
another baby and we had our fifth child was born up in Alaska when we went up there
Wow.
for a time. Our sixth child was born back in Costa Rica, and our seventh child was born in Germany.
Amazing.
And we did home birth with midwives. So it's finding a midwife in each of those places and setting
Hmm.
things up, adding a child to the family, slowing down for, a year and a half for pregnancy and birth and recovery. And you just figure out like, we're going to figure out all these different ways to do life and
Yeah.
all these ways to experience life. It is so cool, man, to immerse yourself in another culture, another place, another way of being, and just sit back. Instead of going with all these preconceived notions, just sit there and be like, what can I learn here? What can I see? How can I understand humanity and myself better? Like, what's different about how they do life here? And it is so rewarding and so fascinating to see all that
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah, some of the travels we've been to, places that on the surface appear to be, like less fortunate compared to the US, we found some of the folks we've seen appear very happy there. So we're like,
Hmm.
okay, here in the States, it seems like we're in a great big rush. I like
Yeah.
before we were recording, we were chatting that, my wife and I took a trip to Portugal recently, but it was just she and I. We asked the kids if they want if they wanted to join. We put it out there. We're like, we're not going to force it, and they said they didn't want to, and they said they thought they'd traveled enough. They're like, haven't we traveled enough already? And so we had a solo trip, which was actually really good for the relationship to be able to have that reflection time as well.
Yes.
But have you found that with your kids where there's times where they're like, enough already, Dad. We've traveled enough. We just want to like stay home and play video games or do something like
There
that. Has that
there
ever
were a
come up?
couple, only a couple of instances. For
Yeah.
the most part, they are travel junkies, man.
Okay.
They love it.
Yeah.
And we got really intentional in the beginning because at first, you know, we're like, oh, and go see this and go see this. And they would get tired and so we're like, well, wait a minute, let's try to see it through their eyes. Like what would be
Okay.
fascinating to them? What would be cool to them? How do I make this enjoyable and educational? How do we make this a fantastic experience so they can be among some of the poorest people on the earth and some of the richest people on the earth
Yeah.
and some of the nicest people on the planet and some of the most unpleasant, mean people. Like,
Yeah.
how can we see the world as it is and do it through their eyes so they love it? And now they're to a place where like they love adventure, they love travel, they love experience, but they're fine too, like sticking into their routines and their studies. And we
Yeah.
just want them to be really versatile.
Yeah, I mean they're world schooled at this point or homeschooled,
Yeah.
if you will, right? So that's
Yeah.
that's been a normal part of the that I mean and that's incredible.
When we started prioritizing getaways, especially when there's lots of little kids and lots of
Yeah.
chaos, and we get so busy with life. We're all the work and paying the bills and fixing things and moving things, buying new things, selling things, and life just gets crazy and chaotic. And then you take this overnighter and you're like, wow, that was incredible. And so you're like, let's try that again. And you take a few nights, like, this is magic. This is like magic for
Yeah.
the marriage. It's like, wait, we're just a man and a woman, a couple in love again. And so several years ago, we started saying, you know what, we're done. We're gonna have a honeymoon every year. And
Every
so
year.
Rachel and I take a
Nice.
full-on honeymoon trip every year,
That's
10 to
great.
14 days.
10 to
And we go
14
to,
days. That's
yeah.
awesome.
So we go to some exotic place and it's just the two of us celebrating our marriage
Oh,
and our
that's great.
life. And then we try to do overnighters every quarter. And I know not every family can do this, but you can do some version of it.
Yeah.
And we just have to remember like the marriage comes first. And we got to fuel that marriage and keep the fire alive so that the passion, the magic is still there instead of becoming just roommates with rings, man.
Yeah. Well, and that's what it can become, right? You get very busy with just all of the, navigating all the activities of day-to-day life in a household, which is,
Yep.
an infinite number of
Yeah.
minutia that need to be navigated and
Yep.
managed. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm very grateful we were able to have that learning experience because we thought, we've invested in a lot of trips for the family and there's been a lot of good experiences, but the one we took just the two of us was so valuable just to be able to
Yeah.
have that time. And we could have been just about anywhere. We didn't have to be, Portugal was amazing. We loved it there. It doesn't have to be somewhere extravagant, like you
Right.
mentioned. It could be just to be able to have that time just to walk around and be at peace with your own thoughts and each other, was,
100%.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
There was times we went to an Airbnb or a little B&B, 30 minutes away, but
yeah,
we just got away and it was awesome.
yeah. That is awesome. Yeah. What a great lesson there. And so the age range you said 23 to 8, and so that's a lot of different energies, different directions, different wants, desires, dreams. How have you navigated some of the different like desires of the children while maintaining the stability of the family unit, if that makes sense?
Absolutely. No, great question. And I think this is like absolutely critical. I don't know if you and I and my wife and I were teaching and speaking. I don't think any of us could emphasize enough that each child is an individual.
Mhm.
And even so, parenting strategies, that work, they have to be adjusted for each kid. Educational strategies, you think, oh, I figured it out for the first one. I'll just use that on the rest of them. No, you won't,
Yeah. Yeah.
because it won't work. It'll backfire. Every child is an individual. And if we're going to do our job really well as parents, then we have to customize it to the individual.
Mm.
And we learned that early on. We adopted our first, and had a couple. She's our daughter, and then we had a couple of boys, and then a daughter. And so we're like, okay, we got two girls, two boys. Like, wow, they are so different. I mean, right from the
Yeah.
get go, they are so different, and they're so
Mhm.
wild. And this one loves this, and that one hates it, and this one wants to do that. And they started, pursuing different goals and hobbies and talents and gifts and desires. And so we started navigating that. It's like, okay, what are you really interested in? How can I facilitate that? How can I hire tutors or sign up classes or experiences? You want to try this? Let's go. You don't like that at all? How are we gonna do this? So, we have kids with learning disabilities
Mhm.
and struggles. So you're like, okay, that changes our whole educational plan. Like,
Yeah.
now what? Gosh. So our one daughter has she had dyslexia,
Mm.
really, really bad dyslexia. And we're readers. We're avid readers. Like our whole life is built on reading. It's like, oh, she can't read. Okay, now what? And we went with audiobooks. And so she
Uh,
got all the books in, but listening. And then the whole family took off with audiobooks. And so you're just adjusting and adapting. And we've made big family decisions for kids, and then the kids have made sacrifices for their siblings. And so we've wandered around the world and done all these different things. So each of them feel like they're super important, that they're
mm.
valued. The others love them and will sacrifice for them. And then they get to pursue their own goals and dreams, and we try to facilitate that. So they love each other, they love us, they love themselves, they love their lives, and it's amazing how different they all are, and what things they've pursued.
Yeah. And I'm glad to hear you say that as well. I think if you've got a few, like only one or two kids, it can be, or even a few kids, and however many children people have is a beautiful thing. This is not in
Yeah.
any way meant to be a pejorative. It's more that it's easier to control the environment with less energy like that, right?
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
and some children just require a lot more energy as well than others. But the more energy there is with seven children, I mean, you can't possibly micromanage or control that amount of
No way.
energy. Like the brain
No
is
way.
the brain is not, there's no amount of energy that can control that. So there, like you were saying, there's a certain amount of like allowing it to be. I'm sure there's an organized chaos that unfolds at
Hmm.
times. When it comes to their different desires, let's say it's a travel desire, how will you arrive at that as a family in terms of like the next destination on the map? Will like each
Hmm.
person get a vote? Will like in a year say, okay, in this year we're gonna go to seven different places. Each of you is gonna get to choose. Let's like, where do you want to go? Or how
Yeah.
does that like what does that look like?
Yeah, we've done a lot of that. Or we'll sit down and say, "Hey, what do you think, guys? Let's look at a globe. Let's pull out a whole globe or a big map. Like,
Yeah.
what do you think? What kind of experience do you want to have?" And
Mm.
they start looking around. They start researching online. They start looking at pictures and videos and watching things. Or something will just come up randomly. They're watching some documentary somewhere, and somebody finds this cool experience in nature, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Whoa, what?"
Yeah.
We need to go to that place. And what happens is you kind of let it just marinate and percolate as the family's just talking and grabbing things. And usually we'll narrow it down to three or four. And the bulk of, well, let's go here first and have this experience, and then we'll go there. And every once in a while it'll be one child's like, okay, I want to have that. It's a big deal. And occasionally we make it happen, or sometimes add it to your bucket list
Hmm.
to make that happen. But as we research it and put it together, start saying, well, how about logistics? Let me give you a perfect example. We last summer we took our kids and we flew to London, spent the day, flew to Kazakhstan and spent 4 or 5 days, then flew to Mongolia and spent, I think, 12 days, then
Wow.
flew to China, the Great Wall of China, the Forbidden City, and then flew to Qatar and then came home. And that trip came together by the kids saying, well, what about this? And oh, what about that? And oh, I've wanted to see this. And we're like, well, let's look at flights and let's figure this out. And it worked out so much better to fly into Kazakhstan from anywhere else than, straight into Mongolia. And then
Oh,
flying out through China was perfect. Like, okay, logistics worked, that everyone kind of got what they wanted. And it ended up being this epic trip with what is that, 5 countries.
Wow.
It was life changing and amazing, and they were all kind of contributing because it was something they'd wanted to do or see or experience, and it was just
Yeah.
beautiful.
Well, and it's neat, like even the research process of them figuring out what they want to do,
Yeah,
there's a huge amount of learning that goes into that because they're going to start learning about the culture, so there's because you're world schoolers, which is like a homeschooler for the world. And
yeah,
so, from a non-traditional education standpoint, there's so much learning that happens from just the research of where they're going to go. And then, so much learning that happens just from the experience of the culture
yeah,
itself.
tons.
Like you could read about Mongolia, I could read about it online, and then I'm sure it's, incredible just to be able to be there with
Yeah,
boots on the ground in the soil, like feeling and having the experience. That's got to be really
exactly.
neat. Yeah.
It's priceless. Wait, when you're sitting back on back of a Mongolian pony in the middle of nowhere, and just talking to the guides and just feeling it and smelling it and tasting it, it's like it is unforgettable.
That's really cool. That's cool. And now travel can also carry with it some uncertainty as well. So do you
Hmm.
feel like you guys with all the travel have a pretty high threshold for like, missed flights or delays or, things like that that happen, there were maybe unique housing, anything like that, the things that can happen where,
Oh, everything.
yeah.
Like in international travel, brother, anything and everything can and will happen.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
At first, we fought it. It was kind of looking back now, it's kind of laughable because at first we're like, no, everything's going to work out. Of course, we're not going to miss our flights. Like, the whole country's not going to go on strike when we land.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, I've
come
experienced
on.
that. Yeah.
Like, what's going to happen? And
Yeah.
everything that can happen has happened, brother. It
Yeah.
is wild. And the coolest thing about it all is we shifted our as parents, we shifted our attitude and perspective. Okay, things aren't going to always work out. So does that mean we stop traveling? Does that mean we become really unpleasant and angry and react? Or are we going to teach our kids how to solve problems?
Mhm.
And so we shifted. And now, brother, our kids have become phenomenal problem solvers
Oh, that's awesome.
because that's what it is. It's like, okay, well, that was a totally unexpected experience. Now what?
Yes.
And it is so cool to walk through that and to teach our kids, model for our kids how to solve problems in a pleasant and a tactful way.
That's awesome. And your capacity for uncertainty grows with those situations if you can
Yeah,
navigate that as
it
well.
has to.
Like your
It has
yeah,
to.
like your bucket gets a lot bigger.
Yeah.
You can navigate quite a bit more. Yeah, yeah.
Which is so cool. That's one of my favorite principles to teach now, because we experienced it the hard way. But really, the idea is like the way I like to frame it up now is like we're just strategically increasing our capacity.
Yes.
Like, what can we handle as adults, as humans, with our kids, as families? Like, what can we handle? How can we increase our skills? How can we increase our knowledge, social skills, physical skills, spiritual skills, mental, emotional skills? Like, how do you keep your emotions in check when things are crazy?
Yeah, and I'm sure there's times where it's not in
Yeah.
check. You're like,
Yep.
oh, and then
Yep.
afterwards you're like, all right, everyone, I lost it.
Yep.
I'm good
Let's
now. Like we're
let's
good.
let's walk
Yeah,
through that. Apologize
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah. Yeah,
take
yeah, yeah.
what can we learn here? Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, we took a quick little pause. The listeners might not notice that, but there was a fire alarm going off in my house. I had to shut off there, which is very appropriate because we were just talking about the uncertain things that can happen as well in life, and that's one of them. Sometimes fire alarms go off and there's no fire. So
And
yeah,
sometimes you even get the fires.
and sometimes you
We
even get the
we were
fires.
we were
Yeah.
living in our so we built a camper and a truck and we drove at one point from Alaska all the way to Panama. It was
Wow.
unreal. And we were in Mexico one day and we in this beautiful little beach and it was a couple days before Christmas and we set up our little camper and we're cooking dinner and then it tipped over and caught the truck on fire and we're like, ah, like it was just mayhem and chaos and that was one of those low points. And some other stuff had happened. The truck had broken down. We couldn't figure out what was wrong and ended up being this stupid little 25-cent O-ring that was leaking. But it was
Wow.
just it was a few weeks of frustrations where we were just like, okay, do we just stop? Are we crazy? Like, have we
Yeah.
just lost our minds and like do we just pull the plug on this? Is it a pipe dream and silly or it was one of those moments and there was three or four of those along the way where you just really bump into something like uh, what are we going to do? How are we going to choose to live? Like, what's this all about? And is it worth it? Like, is the
Yeah.
exchange rate worth it? Like, is this going to be our life experience and our kids' childhood, our memories? Like, You really have to get down to the core of your life purpose and meaning and what it is we all really want for our families. And you get to the rock of it all
Yeah.
and peel away all the layers and all the other stuff. And it's like, what is the essence? What is it that really matters? And once we get to that, brother, then we have that rock that gives us the strength and stability, and we can build from there. And that's what makes families so solid.
Yeah. Yeah, that's huge, right? That underlying life purpose that you're not going to waver from, right? You know
Yep.
that like this is what we stand for.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you care to share what some of that was that you arrived at after some of those low moments and the coming out of that?
So and it was a journey. I wish it would have been, I
Yeah.
wish I was a faster learner. Haha. Right.
Yeah, but
I look
that's
back
how
at
you
some
know
of the
you
things.
I think I don't know. Sometimes I think learning the hard way is the only way we learn, at least for me.
And it's, yeah.
I'm pretty
And the
bullheaded,
lesson
so yeah.
sticks, man. It sticks
Yeah.
hard. So then over a period of time, I should realize I started stripping things away and I was meeting all these cool people and having good experiences and hard experience. And I'm like, okay, at the core, like if we strip away titles, degrees, houses, cars, clothes, the
Yeah.
opinions of other people, if we strip that all away, even our profession, like, okay, who are we at the core? Like just as a human being, who are you and who do you want to be?
Yeah.
What's the very best version of yourself? And then what's the very best life for you individually to live? And those are tough questions. Those are really challenging questions. And you got to let go of some social conditioning, you got to let go of, and face some insecurities and fears and doubts. But if we can get down to that core and be like, no, you know what? I want to be a superb human being. And I want my kids the same. Like I want to live my life to the fullest. So like nobody's ever gonna say, "Well, you didn't really live, right?" I'm not gonna say that about
Yeah.
myself. Like I lived while I was alive, and I did things that actually mattered. I wasn't caught up in the pageantry and wasn't spending all my time, effort, energy, and resources on cotton candy fluff. Like
Yeah.
I'm doing things that actually matter because then you can look back and be like, "Look, what I did mattered." Like I loved people. I was loved. Like I made a difference in the world and I squeezed the juice out of life. And so
Yeah.
that was kind of the experience over a time period. I was like, let's get to the core and then let's build our whole lives on that framework.
Yeah. Yeah. That's I mean, that's what happened to my wife and I after the Portugal trip as well. You know, something like that, where we went to
Yes.
Portugal just, and that's why it was so important to have that reflection time because our day-to-day lives are very much, we're like going through the motions. And I was like, oh, this is the rat race. Like there's a lot of fulfillment. You know, we're both practicing chiropractors. We love what we do. We love to be able to connect to our community. It's amazing. But then at home, there's a lot of like just going through the motions of like,
Hmm.
we're like roommates together. We're married married roommates basically, like going through the motions. This person needs to be there. This meal needs to prep then, all the different things. Um, and when we came back from Portugal, it's almost like something cracked open where we're like, okay,
Yes.
we like started to like see like a
Yes.
vision of like what could be, in terms of like because if you're so busy on the wheel, it's hard to have times of reflection. And I feel
Mhm.
like when the kids are young, there's a lot of like just go making it through the day, things like
Right.
that. And I'm sure you can relate to that. Like we're just making
Yeah.
it through the day. That's
It feels like survival, man.
yeah, yeah, it's
Like,
100%, and like one of our mentors for many chiropractors, Dr. Bruce Lipton, who's an amazing cell biologist. He says that a cell can't be in survival and growth at the same time. And
yep.
like and that makes a lot of sense, right? You can't be in growth as in like your ultimate vision of who you are when you're in survival at the same time. It's like hard to,
Yes.
those two have
Wow.
trouble occupying the same space.
Yep.
Um,
So true. Is he
yeah,
the one that did biology of belief?
that's the one. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So good, bro.
Oh, so good.
Oh,
Yeah, he's
so
he's been
good.
on the podcast a couple of years ago. We had him on. I've had a
Oh,
chance.
that's awesome.
He lectured several times at our chiropractic school, which is amazing.
Yeah, he's
Really,
great.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Biology belief is super cool stuff.
And you said something, if I might share a thought there. It's easy to become, I kind of made this distinction at one point. I'm like, okay, here's all the things they need to be done, but they're really transactional. Like paying the bills, doing things, taking people this way and that way. And those things need to happen.
Yeah,
The problem is most of us get stuck living a transactional life. And I thought, well, I want to live a transformational life. I still have to do the transactions, but there's little things and big things we can do to make our lives transformational.
Yeah.
And so like your trip to Portugal was a pattern interrupt, right? And so
Yeah.
I'm constantly telling people like instigate pattern interrupts, like do
Yeah.
something you don't do.
Yeah.
Change it up, mix it up, and then take the time for reflection. So your pattern is perfect right there, the way you describe that. Do a pattern interrupt, take time for reflection. It's like, okay, what do we learn from that? How's this different? How do we feel different? Now, what do we do going forward?
Yep.
How
Yep.
can we integrate this into our lives so we don't get caught in it? And then inevitably we get caught in some other rut and we stop
Yep.
and get out of that. But we can keep progressing. Like the trend can be upward for our whole lives if we'll
Yes.
be more aware and more intentional.
Yeah. And sometimes I've found that just holding the vision is enough to allow the information to come in, if that makes
Hmm.
sense. So
Hmm.
like I don't know what the end result of that cracking open we talked about from Portugal is. Like I don't know what that's going to look like 5 years from now, 10 years from now, but I just know that like I was like, okay, this happened and I'm gonna like I'm gonna see what comes of this, right? And
Exactly.
yeah. Whilst
I
but
love that.
I'm glad to hear you say like the transactional parts because that's a part of daily life, isn't it? All these
Yep.
transactions, like these things we
Yep.
have to do, paying the bills, doing the things like that, all that stuff that still needs to happen. That's a part of daily living, but also to not get stuck like that. I think that's where you see
Yep.
folks, get into their elder years and they're full of resentment because they've done nothing but that for so much. And
Right.
like, they haven't ever given themselves the space to grow into the next version of who they might be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can I share a story that changed my life?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we had already been out kind of doing this. We had 5 kids and we'd been out kind of wandering a little bit. And I met this older couple one day and I told her what we were doing and she got right in my face. So they were like in their 80s and she came over and she's like, "Young man, you do it. You do it." And I'm like, "Whoa, there's a lot of emotion there. I bet there's a
Yeah.
story." And I said, "Tell me why this feels so important to you." And she said, "Well, my husband, worked out at the mine for 41 years and he was the foreman out there. And every year we told our kids we were going to take them on this big trip and it was going to be amazing. But every year there was a reason we didn't get to it. And so we kept promising it, oh, next year, next year, next year." And she's like, eventually, the kids grew up and moved out. And so then we started promising, well, once dad
Mm,
retires from the mine, then we're going to make up for all those lost years. We're going to go big. We're going to do the trip of trips, take kids, spouses, grandkids. It's going to be huge. And then, brother, she just started sobbing, just
oh,
bawling. And she said, he's been retired for 11 years and we never went anywhere. And now because of his health, we can't. They literally forfeited their dream one procrastination at a time. And so her emphatic, I'll never forget that. She's like,
wow.
"You go do this." And man, I realized like, and I actually put an alarm. I have an alarm that goes off every single Saturday and has for like 15 years. And it simply says, "They will never be this old again."
Wow.
And every week your kids are a week older. And so
Yep.
you'll never, ever, ever get this week again. Never. It's gone. And they move out so fast, man. Like it's like you're changing diapers, and then like, whoa, they're moving out. Like, what happened?
Yeah.
And so our kids are moving out so quickly now, as quickly as they came into the family. And like everybody, like, listen up. The years that you have with your kids under your roof are so short. They
Mm,
are so brief, and they fly by. So don't ever forget. Don't procrastinate. Don't say you'll get to it later. Lean in to your family.
mm.
You can do other stuff later, but man, kids grow up fast and you can't get it back. You can't get their childhood back.
That's beautiful. Crushing to hear that story of that
Yeah.
older man as well. Like, oh
Right?
my gosh. It's so true. I look at pictures where at the time I remember thinking my kids were like looking older. And then I look back, and then my oldest is only 11 and a half, but I look back at when he's 5 and I
Yeah.
think, oh my gosh, he was a baby.
Oh, well,
But at the
exactly.
time when he was 5, I thought he's getting so big,
Yep.
and yeah, you just want to hold on so tight to those
Yep.
moments, especially when they're little.
And the way to hold on to them is to be more present.
Yeah,
That's our key. We're being robbed of our lives and our kids' childhood and our family life by cell phones, video games, TV,
yeah,
media, just distractions.
yep,
And
yep,
so the key to hold on is to be more present and to be more deliberate. Instead of doing the same old, or saying, "Well, I'm too tired," or "I don't know what to do," saying, "Oh, that's just an excuse."
yeah,
Let's make a memory. Let's do
yeah.
something special instead of something transactional.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love it. How have you navigated your own energy over the years?
Well, we have to, right? And I realized that early on. You get married and you're like, okay, now I have to have more energy because I have a wife.
Yeah.
And then you start having kids, bro. And if the little ones, especially like we did back to back to back, I'm like, I gotta be an energy generator.
Yeah.
I cannot like just operate on a small amount of energy and then give my family leftovers at the end of the workday. That's just not fair. And so I'm like, okay, how do I figure this out? How do I navigate this? And so I got really into lifting weights and
Mhm.
exercising, and competitions helped, like dates helped. I started signing up for triathlons. So I'm like, bro,
Okay.
I got a triathlon coming in 3 months. I've got to stay in shape or that will kill me.
Yeah.
And so I started pushing hard for that, doing the training. I started getting up early. Man, and I always, it's like food is fuel.
Mm.
That's one of the biggest things I can teach people. Food is fuel. So if you want a premium vehicle, which it's your body is your vehicle for every single thing you do in life, from
Mhm.
sleep to service to sex. And everything you experience is through the filter or lens of your vehicle. So get your vehicle in premium condition, right? So only
Yeah.
premium food, the
Yep.
good workouts, get all the chemicals out of your house and your
Yeah.
life and get all the toxins away, get back to nature. And if I'm sleeping well,
Yep.
I'm exercising regularly, doing something I love to do, exercise and pushing those limits, and I'm fueling my body and getting sunshine, getting outside, man, I can generate all kinds of crazy energy.
Yeah.
Right. And I can reset. So at the beginning of the day, I reset. At the end, middle of the day, I'm like, oh, I'm feeling groggy. I'm like, okay, let's reset. Let's jumping jacks and burpees and a healthy
Hmm.
snack and let's go. And man, I want to run circles around my kids.
Yeah. Yeah. And you got to treat your body right to be able to do that, and
Exactly.
yeah. It's interesting. I've recently started using an Oura ring just to kind of like track some
Mhm.
physiologic metrics. I thought it'd be interesting. And so I wanted to see how I was sleeping, my heart rate, things like that. And it's been interesting tracking sleep because, in the past, I feel like I was someone that thought I needed a ton of sleep, and I still need like a certain amount, is very important. But I found the quality of sleep is so much more important as well with that, where
Yes.
if I can get 6.5 for me, like hours of quality sleep, that can be way better than 8 hours of lousy sleep. And so,
Yep.
sometimes that's the nighttime thing of like, did I have a drink before bed? Did I have sugar before bed? Things like
Yep.
that. And it is incredible. And even charting my own, like, obviously the ring's not influencing my state in that way. It's almost like intuitively I would know, but it's interesting to look at the outputs of that and like see
Right.
like, oh yeah, clearly like my heart rate never came down last night into an ideal range. I had the sugar late at night or the drink late at night.
Mhm.
Things like that.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
for you, have you noticed there's like a certain amount where you're like, okay, I'm starting to dip into reserves, Greg. We got to like, we gotta dial it in or get a little more rest, or do you
Yeah.
find that sometimes
100%.
you get so excited and you're like, I just want to go, 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 and then you're like, oh, went a little too hard. We gotta rejuvenate here now.
Yep. 100%. Because none of us can draw from an empty well.
Yes.
Right. So if we just drain that sucker and then we don't deliberately refill it, we have nothing to give, and you can't give what you don't have. And so I'm constantly watching that, and I'll notice like these little fluctuations. Like I can pull off the 6.5 hours of sleep, but only when I'm in great shape.
Yes.
If I let my fitness go, it's amazing. My body needs more sleep.
Yeah.
Or if the eating's not dialed in. And so I do intermittent fasting the vast majority of time, and I'll probably do that for the rest of my life. I really love it.
Yeah.
And we focus on proteins and fats over carbohydrates. Makes a big difference. And we did some monitoring of our glucose levels for a while. It was really fun to watch what food affects the blood sugar levels and
Oh yeah.
insulin resistance. And so monitoring those things, like I got to be dialed in. I have
Yeah.
a wonderful wife. I've got 7 kids. I got multiple businesses. I want to see the whole planet. Like I gotta keep
Yeah.
my vehicle
Yeah.
in a
It's a lot of
peak
energy
condition.
required.
Yeah,
Well, and
exactly.
the quality of the fuel makes such a difference too. Like to go back to that Portugal trip I was mentioning, my wife and I, we don't eat much wheat here in the States. If we do, it's going to be
Yeah.
like a homemade sourdough loaf or something like that.
Yep.
But we could have largely the wheat out there. A lot of the other food, we're like, wow, I'm eating a lot and I feel great afterwards, and I'm still
It's
like packed full of energy.
amazing.
So like, what a
Yes.
difference. When we were there, nothing was labeled organic because it didn't need to be labeled organic
Right.
because everything was organic. That was just like
Yep.
that's the standard of farming practices. I was
Yeah.
like that's
The,
it.
the food quality is amazing.
The
And
food
and you
quality, I'm
can
sure for
you
so
can
much of Europe, the food quality is
feel it.
amazing. Yeah.
You go to different countries in the world and you start eating, you're like, oh, I just feel this. You
Yeah.
get to this point where you're like,
100%.
I can tell.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
It's
you
wild.
have a meal that doesn't sit right afterwards. You can
Yeah.
feel it. You're like, you're groggy.
Yeah.
You're not as sharp as you were before. You're like, oh, I gotta go
Yeah,
back and
it's
take a
garbage.
nap. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, and I think the thing that you said that was really striking to me is like you want to be able to have energy at the end of the day where you're not getting back, like you're not getting back from your day and you've got nothing left to give to your
Yep.
family, right? Like nobody, I don't think, especially as like nobody wants to be in that situation where there's just
Right.
nothing, nothing left to give. Like
Yep.
that's not a good situation. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, one of the biggest recommendations we can make to any parent or spouse for that matter is just like take care of you. It's
Yep.
not selfish. It's critical. Like
Yeah.
it's important. So take care of yourself so that you can show up as your best self.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Um, I would love to be able to have a conversation where we have my wife and your wife on as well to kind of talk about the
Yes.
family unit in that way, because I think that would be really interesting to hear some of like her perspective in terms of how you've arrived at all this as well, and
Hmm.
like the conversations you've had, the different strategies you've adopted. I think that would
Oh,
be
let's do it, man. That would be a
a really
blast.
fascinating thing. Because have you found a certain energetic exchange where you each bring something different to the table? Because I know like
Absolutely.
in our relationship, that's exactly how it
Yep.
is. We each bring different things. Um, for us, I feel like if I'm operating on all cylinders, like I can bring a ton of energy into the family, which is like a huge, like a massive like net gain because there's just a lot of
Hmm.
like energy added to the system, right? And that like, that can sustain a lot of things. But if I'm depleted and not on my game, then I'm not adding that energy. I'm
Yeah.
drawing energy away from the system and things just don't work as well. And that's a contrast that I've noticed over the years with us as well.
Oh, so true. And well, so my wife, she went to see her aunt and uncle, she got back last week and she was gone for like 12 days
Yeah.
and you could just feel her absence. The kids could feel it. I'm feeling it. Obviously, it's like, no, it's so important that we're both
Yeah.
here, both contributing, both
Yep.
striving to be our best selves, both,
Yeah.
we're complementing each other.
Yep.
It's a beautiful, beautiful thing when couples can get on the same page and get united and then really bring the family. So one thing I like to teach people is like, so when a tide comes in, it lifts all the boats, right? All the boats in the harbor get lifted by the tide. So I'm like, wait a minute, be the tide. You be the tide that comes in and lifts all the family boats.
Yeah.
And if it's just you at first, great. But if it's you and your spouse, you guys get on board and work together, you come in and you lift every single boat in the family harbor. And you're the tide. You're the influence. You're this great force for good that takes your family down, up that path where you want to go.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Now, talk to me for a minute, if you would, about creating space, because you talked about her absence was noticeable, but I'm sure there's also times where you each need your own separate space. Like you need your Greg space, she needs her, her Rachel space as well.
Hmm.
So, like ways where you create space for her
Yeah.
and for her to like, even if it's 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour at the end of the day, something, right?
Yep. And you guys can imagine or at least picture in your minds like seven children, mom and
Yes.
dad, like
Swarming
living
around. Yeah.
living in an RV, right? We did an
Yeah.
RV on the West Coast for 9 months. Like
Wow.
nine people in an RV. You're like, bro, we need some space.
Yeah.
And so we built this into our rhythms and we've talked to our kids too, so they all do it now. Is when we get up first thing in the morning, it's an individual morning routine. So we'll spend some time praying or meditating, writing, some kind of spiritual text, reading from some great books or listening to a great book, some stretching, yoga, some walking outside. So we wake up and we go to our individual refueling. And it's a really great way to do life, man.
Mhm.
And even the little ones, they start with their little routine, whatever they've got. They make their bed and they get dressed and they like to draw or color or work on creative things. And you're just stirring this soul settling stuff, right? Getting grounded.
Yeah.
And so we have individual time like that. And then we'll come together and we'll do breakfast together, meals together, and we'll do like we call it our devotional conversation. We're teaching great lessons, reading great books together, discussing things. We work out together, and then we separate and we go. Rachel and I go to work, and the kids go to their studies, and we have a
Mhm.
few hours like that. And then we come back together and do activities in the afternoon, and evenings.
Yep.
And we have these rhythms of everyone gets alone time, everyone gets together time,
Right.
and it meets all those needs,
Yeah.
right? So we're not always together and we're not always apart, and we have
Yeah.
this beautiful rhythm of crossing roads multiple times a day.
Beautiful. Yeah, and you've got your couple hours where you're presumably running the businesses at that point, doing the
Hmm.
things, and the kids
Yep.
are doing their independent study or researching where they want to go next,
Yep.
or playing outside together, whatever it is they want to do. If you're on the West Coast, they're, hanging out at the beach, playing in the sand, something like that.
Yep.
Cool. Oh, that's awesome. I love it. I find your story so interesting. I think it's really neat. I think, it's an example of what's possible for families, and I think that's really cool to be setting that example. I'd love to have another conversation at some point. But we need to wrap things up in a couple minutes here for now for this one, even though I'd love to keep chatting. How are some ways that some of our listeners can connect more with your work?
Yeah, I love it. We live for this, man. I guess primarily because of my own experience of my own, family I grew up in disintegrating. And then, when I lived in rough places as a teen and early 20s, and I saw family dysfunction. And then, I've been coaching people across 5, 6 continents now for over 2 decades.
Wow.
So you see a lot of struggle, and then I see, you help them make the changes and you give them the tools and strategies and the little adjustments that bring so much happiness and joy and success. You think, I have to shout this from the rooftops. Like, so it's become our passion and our mission. We love this. Like, we get up and we're like, man, I get to help families today. Like, we
Yeah.
live for it. So,
Yeah.
so anyways, that's kind of the preface of why we do what we do. And we're so excited about it. But Rachel and I do a podcast together called the Extraordinary Family Life Podcast.
Awesome.
I have one specifically for men called the Formidable Family Man.
Okay.
And then, of course, we're on all social media outlets. You can find us on there. It's Rachel Denning and Greg Denning, and World School Family is
Okay.
is Rachel's account.
Okay.
And so
Awesome.
we're just out there. We have lots of free courses and things that how to raise well-adjusted kids, and the ultimate checklist for parenting and marriage course.
Yeah.
We just want to share all the goods of what it takes to do family life.
I love it. We'll put those links in the show notes. And as chiropractors, we are all about well-adjusted kids. That's
Yeah.
that's what it's all about. So yeah,
Exactly.
it's all about well-adjusted
Love it.
kids. I love it. But yeah, thanks again, Greg. This has been really neat. I love your energy and I love the chance to chat with you. So appreciate
Thank
you
you.
doing it.
Thanks for what you're doing, man. This stuff matters so much.
Awesome. Thanks. Take care.